Hello and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I'm Dustin and we are looking at Ford. Ford Motor Company, as it's better well known, which was down 5.94% today. As we do, we'll look at the price first. It looks like we are about 2 standard deviations below the 23-day average. We can see we're below the 5-day average. We are below the 20-day average, and we saw a record amount of volume here in Ford. When was the last time we hit 99 million shares? Last time we hit 99 million shares was back on May 26th when we got over 100 million. And then after that, it's been a while, boys and girls, probably since March 17th of 2023, since we've seen that amount of volume and randomly on a Monday. I mean, if we look at this might be one of the ugliest candle drops I've seen in a long time. It makes me honestly think about AT&T and Verizon right now, but it is coming off of a higher level. So this isn't really wiping out much. It's just wiping out gains all the way back to the middle of June. I do think that hopefully you get some support here around that $13 or $14 level. That'd be really positive. It looks like on the 1 day we've gone negative, on the 5 day we're negative. It looks like we're about to go negative on the 15 day. What is that? What does it have to stay above tomorrow? It has to stay above 14.11, which right now is going to close negative. We've gone negative on the 1 month. We are not negative on the 3 month or the 6 month yet, but the 6 month is in play. The one thing that's really interesting, though, is that we do still have a go long in the short term, intermediate term, and longer term. I bet you we'll get a go short by the end of the week. We do see that tomorrow we're going to get a bearishness on the short term. We're still going to be bullish on the intermediate and the longer term, but this is definitely something to pay attention to, especially when you get that kind of volume following through on a move down. It's really interesting too because you see on the sentiment here we were up around like 60+%. We're at 63, so we do actually have a lot of downside, at least in sentiment. This thing was slightly overbought, at least based on its recent precedent. We'll go ahead and look at the overall charts again up close. That's just ugly, isn't it? That's a terrifying candle. If you were up here, let's say you bought last Wednesday. You bought on $15, and this week it closed at like 14.09 and probably barely. But when we look at the overall sentiment, we can see we're finally below on the daily. The sentiment's now below that 15-day moving average, which you don't want to be. You don't want to be below it, as you can tell here. Looks like we're definitely in for a little bit of a bumpy ride if you're a Ford shareholder at the moment. It looks like the volume, again, this was one of the biggest days that we've seen in a while. It does look like that March 17th was a really big day. This is really frightening because it was such a big down day. The one thing that's really interesting though is that you do see that the volatility is completely rolled over. It's very similar to Tesla's, and it does look like it's going negative. So I would say that potentially, if you, depending on what ends up happening, you'd either see the price be essentially compressed and move sideways to up, or if you get a complete resumption tomorrow of the correlation, where this correlation starts to actually go higher again, while the the volatility is falling, that would be very negative for Ford right now. But the one positive I'd say is that you are near the bottom of the range. So you're at 1355. It's not like it's broken below the range, like if you were looking at like the previous video I did on Verizon or on AT&T today. But this is definitely something to pay attention to. I would say around 1350 though, you might want to start taking a position. I'd definitely be paying attention to see what happens with that volatility, because when we look here at the weekly trade range for Ford, we can see we are at the top of the range through the end of last week. This might actually be a decent place to do a purchase, because you know that you've been overbought for a while. You know that you're just getting essentially a normal pullback to some mean reversion. And now what we're seeing is that you're getting a good price that you wish you could have bought back on June 15th, so maybe like a month ago. So if you wanted to get into the price of Ford at this price, this is probably a really good place. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you long? Are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is this even a good review? And before you go, do yourself a favor. Subscribe to the New High newsletter. You get 25 stocks to your inbox Sundays at 9 a.m. Do it. I'll talk to you soon.